Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marcos. Um, and I can see that I love that photo because it's a photo that was taken 10 years ago, but because I'm bald, no one can see the difference. So I feel pretty happy with that. I don't need any slide. I don't know how to remove that. Here we go. Oh. All right, everyone, let's just close our eyes. There is some backgrounds. Can the host mute the people who are not muted? Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's just take a moment to receive. Let's just receive 3 breaths together. Inhale. 2 more times. One last time. Inhale. All right. I must say I'm really honored and grateful to be asked to participate in this little uh, celebration of our day. So I'm gonna talk about my passion for the breath. I find that breath is, I always say breath is the answer. Now ask me a question because I have always the same answer. And I have the same with ice. I always like to say also that breath is a symptom before being a cure. And I think that's what I would like to talk to you about today. Um, so, a little bit about me, just I'm French. I've been guiding and training more than 700 people who are teaching my method. And it's very unconventional method. I'm very happy to be finally certified with the Global Breathwork Alliance, but it was a journey because I do things differently from other facilitators and I don't fit into the structure that was initially asked by Global Breathwork Alliance. But basically, I almost say that breath work is an excuse. And teaching facilitators is an excuse. I think we are not learning the art of being human. We are trying to fit in, we're trying to get our needs met, but somehow we deep down feel that there is something that we want more of out of life. And we just feel that we have to manipulate, lie, please, control, whatever it is that we do in order to get our needs met. And that leaves us quite unfulfilled. And I love to create containers where we re-educate ourselves through love, compassion, appreciation, radical responsibility, non-judgment, but also no care. No one's taking care of anyone. We just take care of ourselves. I create these transformational journeys. So it's 3 weeks in person in Bali and in India. And I also have a process through 6 months online. And I want to talk a little bit about what's going on when we are listening to the breath. So I'm sure you're quite educated, so I'd love your feedback and comments and all that. Uh, but when we are born, breath is quite uninterrupted and not much is happening. We are going through emotions and we just let them go through. Every time we don't feel we can express our emotion, we suppress it. We know that already, and our bodies is then carrying chronic tension. We develop a personality, and the personality is very much an adaptation to our environment. And all of a sudden, we are shy, we talk a lot, or whatever it is that we think is just our second nature. It's exactly that, your second nature. It's not your prime nature. And you might say, oh, my parents were like that, and that's why I'm like that, and kind of tell yourself a story to justify why you are the way you are or the way you look, also, because over time, those imprints are done in the body and they have an impact on the way you look. Whether you're bald, you have glasses, you have small breasts, you have tight shoulders, whatever it is that you think is, well, this is what it is. My strong belief that it's a result of adaptation on what your past generations have not dealt with, and it's just you've just inherited them. And every time we have been suppressing ourselves, every time we have not let joy, pleasure express itself because it's not okay to be finding pleasure when we're a 3-year-old kid and parents say, well, no, This is not okay to have sexual pleasure in the pool. Don't do that. Don't do that in public. We put bikinis on 3-year-olds. And we also want boys to not cry. And we do that because we want them to be happy. So with the best intentions, completely unconscious parents are telling and grooming children to just always chase happiness and be okay and regulate themselves. We're not learning that sometimes we're not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. Very quick personal story there. The day I'm born with, and my parents bought me a little puppy, born the same day as me, and it was my best friend. I cared about this puppy more than anyone, more than my parents. It was just my twin soul. And when I was 8 years old, I found the puppy, the dog, dead. I screamed, and my mother rushed, and she grabbed me. She saw me screaming. She says, don't cry, don't cry. It's going to be okay. Come. It's going to be okay. Let's. And she did her best to make me okay. She said, okay, let's go get an ice cream. And my parents were quite health conscious. So I was always allowed only sorbet and only one scoop. But that day I got chocolate, caramel, and vanilla. And I actually had even the whipped cream and sparkles on top. I remember everything about that ice cream because it was the most incredible experience of my life. And I came home, and in the meantime, my father had bought a new puppy, which was cuter than the first one. And it's probably one of the best days of my life. And I learned my lesson that day. And when I was 16, I was madly in love with a girl who was in my class. And after spending 1 week with her, she decided to date someone else in the class. And for me, it was the end of life. But I knew what to do, and I went for ice cream. And then I kissed another girl in the class the same day. And I was really okay. And if you want to know about ice cream, I can make a whole lecture. I need more time because I'm an absolute expert on Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry's, Robin Baskin. You ask me the difference between all of them, I will tell you all. And I can tell you also the difference between Russian girls and Italian girls. And every time I had a problem with a girl, it was extremely easy for me to always be regulated and always happy in life. And this strategy worked all my life until I got diagnosed with cancer. And then all of a sudden, there was no ice cream available to regulate my nervous system. And no matter the nationality or the size of the boobs of the girl, that didn't help me. So my coping mechanism and the way I was handling life, that didn't work. A few years later, one of my best friends killed himself. And that led me to addiction, suicidal thoughts, deep depression, basically inability to not be okay. I didn't know that I could be not okay. I just knew how to always be okay. And that's what led me on this journey. What I've learned is what every time we are not authentic, it is associated with a restriction of our breath. Now, your breath is not just something passive. It's an autobiography. When I meet people, I listen to their breath. I look at their breath. I feel where is the breath, because it tells me everything about their loves and their losses. And the shape of their body tells me something. And the choice of their clothes is telling me something. And whatever I see in their behavior, for me, is just symptomatic. I've 100% dropped any judgment in my life because I know that someone who is burping, there is something for them that they cannot express. That someone who's wearing a lot of tattoos, there is something about their own initial skin that doesn't feel good enough. And I can go on forever on looking at anatomy, at physiology, and just listening to what is the body expressing that the mind is suppressing. And again, my magic observation is done through the breath. And what's amazing is when we acknowledge that, and if you align with that, we also hold the key to accesses those repressed wounds. And that's also the breath. That's why breath works. That's the ground behind the approach of conscious connected breathing, which is probably what everybody here and everybody around the world is kind of doing, whether you're called Wim Hof or holotropic or rebirthing, whatever, soma, it's all connected breathing. Why? Because the trauma came with an interruption of the breath. So let's bring the antidote, which is not restricting the breath. And when we do that, something magic happens. We know, I could go on, but most of you, I'm sure, are educated on what's going on in terms of biochemistry in the body between oxygen and CO2. And all of a sudden, energy starts flowing in the body. This prana that we always talk about is actually going through the fascia system. That's where the prana is going. And the tensions and the traumas, there are a lot in the fascia system, those soft connective tissues that are pretty much like a web holding the whole body. And what's going on all of a sudden is that we are releasing those superficial tensions. And what's happening when we do that, we are accessing parts of us that have been forgotten. What is essential to mention that it's not always associated with a memory. I talked about parents. Most of my behaviors is inherited because I'm Jewish and my parents escaped the concentration camp and had to fight the Nazis and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just recipient of all that. Why it matters? Because one of the things that has helped me is to have radical acceptance, radical compassion and understanding for myself and for others. I drop judgment. I do no longer hate myself. I do no longer just want to end it because I considered for 40 years that I was just a bad person. Why I was a bad person? Because every time I met a girl, I lied to her to sleep with her. And I manipulated over and over everyone in my life to get my needs met. And as I started to do some work on myself, I really came to the conclusion that I'm a bad person because all our society is built on those principles. Is good and there is bad. And we want to be good. Generous, that's good. Stingy, that's bad. Etc., etc. So there are parts of us that we think are just bad and we push them away the same way we put people in prison when they don't behave the way society says you should be behaving. But I have a question for you. Do you think society is going in the right direction? Do you think health is going in the right direction? Clearly not. The way we've been dealing with pedophiles and criminals and rapists through shaming and locking them away, has it led to a safer place for our children? Do we feel more confident and more trusting with each other? Do men and women feel safer with one another? Of course not. And fear leads to control. And now we have just people not trusting anybody, not trusting themselves. Because if what we do in the society outside, we also do it inside. And we lock away the parts of us that we feel, oh my God, if people knew this about me, they would never want to be close to me. The truth is, it's an illusion. The moment you realize that the only thing that matters for people to trust you is your authenticity. The only thing that matters for you to access radical health is authenticity. Once you own that and you are able to live it, diseases disappear. And you know what's the antidote to disease? It's ease. And all of a sudden, judgment disappears. You see everyone behavior as symptomatic. And with curiosity and compassion, you can let the people put their guard down, their mask, their shields, and vibrate at the heart level. And that's a vibration of truth. Authenticity is the medicine. What we need is create spaces in our sessions for people to feel safe. In my sessions, we wear wigs and crazy outfits. We have fun. Why? Because I want you, inner child, to be safe. So when people arrive, they feel, what the fuck is he doing? I'm not going to wear a wig at 8 a.m. and dance with him, but they do. And they laugh and they feel the discomfort of awkwardness. But at the end, within half an hour, there is something that shifts. They feel, maybe it is finally a space where I can be myself. And you know what's going on in my sessions? I have men sharing that they have abused children. I have people sharing how they have raped, how they have desires for murder. And you know what's going on? People are listening and receiving. No one's judging, no one's pointing fingers. And then we breathe. From the subconscious, from the unconscious, through those sharing circles at the beginning, things come to consciousness through the power of circling and authentic relating. And there we have a vibration of authenticity. That's the vibration we enter in my breath work sessions. Because then finally people will feel I can be my authentic self. And you will have one person crying next to someone having an orgasm, full body orgasm in the middle of a room of strangers every time, because sexuality is so repressed and suppressed. But when we feel finally safe to be our authentic expression, when we don't restrict ourselves anymore, when we know that no one's going to judge or point fingers or even care, because here is your mantra, everyone, that I give you. Fuck everyone. Anchor that. Fuck everyone. And then the biggest truth, hear it, listen. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Nobody gives a fuck. Your children don't care about you. They're trying to get their needs met. Your partner doesn't care about you. It's an illusion. Once you anchor that, you're going to realize I can be my fucking self. I can just express myself. No one will care. And I demonstrate that in my sessions. I share crazy things I've done. And then I ask my students, do you feel not safe with me anymore? And then I ask them the next question, who feels safer with me now than 5 minutes ago when I was really a nice guy who is so great? No. If you want to trust someone's light, you need to see their shadows. If you see someone's shadows, then you're going to trust their light. What we need is to create spaces of authenticity. This is what is a trauma-informed container. It's not about titration. It's not about pendulation. It's not about all attunement and all the things that we hear and we listen. It's about authenticity. This implies everything else. It's a space of just truth. There is no game. I'm not different in my sessions than I am in my loving relationship. I don't play a different role when my kids are going to enter the room or if I talk to you. I'm the fucking self. I don't care. And that's the space where everybody can just be themselves. And when you are in a room where no one's going to judge you, then finally says, okay, well, I'm going to tell you something about me that I've never told anyone. And you know who says that? Every single participant in my sessions. Every single one. Because we all have parts of ourselves that we just lock away feeling, you know what? I keep that for my BDSM night. That works there. I will not bring it anywhere else. It doesn't have to be locked away in those containers. We can just change. We can just reclaim our authentic self. It requires radical responsibility, dropping the narratives, being fully vulnerable with yourself. Once you change the language with yourself from judgment, again, you're talking to someone who overcame cancer and who was suicidal. I've been there. I've abused everything and everyone. There is an alternative, and it's actually simple. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It requires daily practice because what you practice, you master. That's it. If you guys are good at what you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, it's just because you've done it enough time. And life isn't different, but it requires radical responsibility. So, my friends, I will end there because I know I don't have that much time. Follow me, breathing_cold. I just got banned from Instagram for sharing this kind of things. I got banned from YouTube 10 times for sharing what I think. So It's not a lot of followers in my content, but breathing_cold, breathing cold Bali. Come spend 3 weeks with me. Every Monday I do a session online, so on Zoom every Monday. Send me a message and I'll send you all the links. And I'm open for questions, reactions, pushback. Anyway, I don't care. So go ahead.
Alex, thank you for the truly